My name is Elijah DaCosta. I'm the host of We Are Human, and I'm also hosting Project Freel's Who is New York City series.
My name is Frankie. I guess I could say I'm a New Yorker. I've been living here for 12 years now, and I do photography.
Awesome. So jumping right in, my first question for you is, who is New York City?
Who is New York City? New York City is walking outside and hearing, not even outside, hearing the sirens when you step out, watching people walk when you step out, going at the corner, see buses pass, going to the subway, seeing who's in the subway, going to the bodega, being out at 3 in the morning getting pizza. So that's what New York is. And also different cultures being on the same street sometimes or all the time. Melting pot, the cliche thing to say. Yeah, so that's New York.
Well, speaking of melting pot and all the cultures that are here, you grew up in Haiti for 15 years, right?
Yeah.
And so moving here, I would want to ask, do you feel like a proud New Yorker being here, and what has kept you here in New York?
So when I moved from Haiti, I lived in Miami. So New York and Miami are totally different. So you can see that I've seen different places in the US as soon as I moved, but I used to come here for vacation during the summer. So I knew what the difference was, but also after high school, I said it's easier to live here because you have the public transportation or renting a car. I mean, I ended up living by my school anyway, but New York I knew that I wanted to live here because of how crazy everything is. Because I was in Long Island, so being in the city, that was a good thing. And all the time, like every weekend or after school, because I actually went to school in the city.
Oh, nice.
I went to Baruch College. So yeah, I would say New York. But I always, this thing that we do when we go somewhere is like, oh, in New York, we don't have that. In New York, things are open until 5. So I always do that. And whenever I go other places, if I'm on the plane, I'm always saying I'm glad that I live here. Because you can see the city from the plane window. And I always said if I move somewhere else, then New York is always going to be my base. Mm-hmm. All my friends are here. A lot of people visit here. My photography started here. Film started here. So everything I went to college here. I started a job here, so I would say New York, yeah, it's the first step for me from the United States. And it's not because yes, I've been here for a long time, but even New York itself, wherever I am in my life, I think this is always going to be the start and where the base is going to be. Yeah.
I love that answer, how you can recognize it as the base.
Yeah, it's the base.
And as you've started photography here, how has the city impacted your creativity throughout that journey? In many ways.
Yeah, many ways. So all of this is not something that I thought that I would be doing. If you told me this 10 years ago, I would have said, wow, I would never imagine. Because so for example, when I lived in Long Island, I used to go to school, and you step out of the train. Walking from the train station to school, you see a lot of things, people walking around, and I have my phone. So I started taking pictures, and then as it goes by, then I did that for a couple of years, and studio is different. But even if studio is in a small space where there's no external things affecting you, but it's, let's say if I shoot on a Saturday, I feel like a lot of ideas that we get is just a lot of things that we're registering throughout the week or throughout the day, right? So if I see something, I'm not subconsciously, I register, but I don't know what I'm actually using during the shoot. But the music that I hear, the people I see, the galleries that you just walk randomly into, whatever you see on the street, it translates into creatively whatever I do, right? So, and also using the surroundings to use them creatively, because something that I do is now I can do it more days of the week, but I walk around. Like on a Sunday, I'll just wake up, I'll go to a coffee shop, I'll walk around a lot, I'll sit at a park, and I'll keep walking. So I think that's a good way for me it's like a release kind of, because I'm seeing a lot of things, but it's also registering things so I can do them creatively. Because you can see something random, let's say, on Roosevelt Island, for example. The last time I went, I got an idea for a shoot because I was there. It was something random, but I got an idea just from being there, and then I actually used it for a shoot. So I think it's just every day registering subconsciously and then just applying them for things that I want to do actually.
All about experimenting.
Yeah, experimenting.
I also would love for you to elaborate more on the transition from doing street photography to studio photography. Because I remember you mentioning like earlier off the record, like that was like a bit of a pivot.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be fun to like let everyone know how that happened.
So street photography was, you know, the buildings but there was always somebody in the photo. So it wasn't the building itself, it was like everything in the photo. And then when I switched to studio, I have more control of what happens in the studio. And I tried to keep the element of street, which is very candid. And I tried to apply it in the studio where I don't necessarily tell somebody to pose and just see what happens. So I feel like that's how I merged both. But I'm more comfortable in the studio because there's less noise. Like,
yeah,
it's not necessarily sound, but everything that's going on. Like if you're walking on the streets, there's a car, there's a building, somebody's walking. It's like a lot of things happen.
Babies crying.
Yeah, but in the studio, it's visually it's quiet. It's less noise. I mean, sound also, and it's like it's also being outside of everything. Because being in the studio, it's like an escape from real life. I'm comfortable with it. I do it more often than I do street. I don't know. I mean, street, let's say if I'm walking around one day, I say, oh, let me just get my camera. But it doesn't happen as often as I want to do street photography. I mean, street photography now doesn't happen as often as a studio shoot. Yeah, it's just random. Like one day I can say, I'll pick up my camera and just go. But studio, I always know that I have to shoot once or twice a week.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. And my next question is, since living in New York, what communities have you discovered while living here and that you've been able to be and feel a part of?
It's like, okay, so it's music, film, and photography. So I'm in also fashion. I'm in those four. Music less, but with fashion, film, and photography, there's a main thing, which is the way that I see things in general. So that's how I get into things. I have a friend who started a clothing brand, so I was part of that. And then all his friends and everybody that I've been meeting in the fashion world. And then with film, it's the same thing, like people that like the same thing when it comes to film. And then photography is the same. And then music is, I like techno or house. So there's also that community that I've been part of. Before this, a long time ago, I used to go to photo walks.
Yeah.
I went to the last one I went to was Coney Island. I went to one in Coney Island.
Was that like recently? Because I've heard, I feel like they do those a lot too.
Yeah.
I went to Coney Island.
No, I don't remember when exactly, but it was some time ago. So I used to do these things a lot. Yeah, so these are the types of things that I do most of the time, yeah.
Awesome. You got like a good diverse group of people and communities to like get along with and to get inspiration from too.
Yeah, because it feels like living in different worlds. Like now we're doing this, and then if I'm doing something related to photography now, and then there's something related to fashion or film or whatever, it's just like I feel like my life it's not that I compartmentalize things, but it's just like I have different ways to think in every situation.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like I'm doing the same thing all the time.
And that's good, because sometimes that can be like really daunting, or like it gets kind of old or becomes like a routine.
Yeah.
You also said something earlier about how like photography is always a hobby.
Yeah.
And you want to keep it as a hobby.
Yeah.
And I think that like keeps the passion going too.
Yeah.
Cool. One of the next questions is a little bit more about some self-reflection. And this is one of my favorite questions because I always love to know about people's journeys. And so when you look back at your life over the last year, few years, 10 years, what's something that you would say that you've learned about yourself specifically? Or still learning?
I think I've been more looking at the things that I actually do, because I'm not sure a lot has changed from who I am for the past years. It's just understanding how I react to things, how I like things, like what I do, why I do them. But photography is something that has taught me that, because from photography, I can see like there's a pattern with every photo. There's a pattern with how I like to shoot. There's a pattern with how I talk to people before a shoot. It's taught me that I like quietness, I like calm, and you can see them from the photos because those like mostly empty photos. I like the composition of the photos.
Going back into New York, I would love for you to tell me some more of your favorite spots or favorite things about the New York City culture.
New York City culture. Biking. I use the rideshare bikes a lot. I mean, I get the year membership. So like I try to bike everywhere. I try to bike everywhere. Sometimes, I mean, I used to work in Jersey. I used to have to take the New Jersey Transit. It's not bad, it's like an hour. Sometimes I used to bike from here to the city, which takes 15 minutes, but you get the electric ones. It's good. Yeah.
Go over the bridge.
Yeah, go over the bridge. I don't go out at night as much as I used to before, but definitely before I mean, you see all the bars in the city, like the techno shows. I'm a huge fan of Afrobeats. So whenever there's Afrobeats, like somebody's having a DJ Afrobeat somewhere, like you go to that. I love downtown Brooklyn, like a lot of bars there. I used to go to Ota Babel a lot before. Also in Bushwick, I mean, there's a lot of the warehouse parties around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then going for pizza after. I used to eat a lot of halal food.
Of course.
Oh my God, when I was in college, it used to be an everyday thing.
Every day?
Every day. Until I had to stop because it was beginning to be too much. But yeah, halal, pizza, and then I like ramen.
Oh yeah.
I enjoy ramen. And there's like a burrito place close to here. I'm there all the time.
It's funny what you said about like how when you travel somewhere else and then you're like, oh, this doesn't happen in New York.
Yeah.
Right? Like looking for a place to eat whenever I go visit family in Orlando and it's like 10 o'clock, everything's closed. And I'm like, I have no choice but to get like fast food now.
Yeah.
Everything is closed.
Or the last time I went to Miami, because I love coffee too. Mm-hmm. So I'm like always looking at coffee shops and tasting different ones. And last year in Miami, I was looking at coffee shops like Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. And then the ones that I could actually go to, you compare them like, okay, so how does it taste? Is it good? Blah, blah, blah. But I'm not like a coffee professional. But you go to coffee shops enough here that are good, then wherever you go, you're like, oh my God, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coffee is another big thing. So I do a lot of coffee here because you can work from a coffee shop.
Yeah.
You get your coffee, you're sitting outside. If it's close to a park, you have nature, you have people walking around. Like sometimes I'll go to 3 coffee shops in one day.
Yo,
but it's because
I feel that.
Yeah, because it's like I go at 7 in the morning and then I walk around and then at 10 o'clock I go to another one and then at 12 or 2, whatever, I go to another one. So that's like something that I actually do a lot here. I'll walk from here and go to Williamsburg. Mm-hmm. I do that. So I walk around and then you just go into different places. And then in the city, I don't hang out as much in the city anymore either. But when you go to Soho, you have all the galleries. Like you walk around, you go to each gallery. Just here, I guess, mostly biking and walking around, and then you find those random things that
you can just pop into.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably one of my favorite things about the culture here too. Is like the cafe hopping or like just chilling and walking through a park. It's like that's what grounds me or gives me a little bit of peace too.
Yeah, like you're away. You're not away from people, but it's like quiet time without necessarily being closed off to things. Mm-hmm. You just, I guess, ambient things going on around you that you have. But yeah, here for me, it's mostly walking and biking.
So my next question is, how can the experience of a creative in New York City be improved?
We need more space for us to showcase what we like to do, just for appreciation, or just for us to share the ideas that we have. Because there's Instagram, there's a lot of online platforms, but in person, it's like a really good thing. I mean, I've had the chance to be part of art shows. What I like about being part of art shows is mostly meeting other artists. It's not necessarily it feels nice to be part of an art show. Like, yeah, it's my stuff on the wall, but for me, it's more like making friends, being in a space, enjoying the art together, like looking at somebody else's artwork and say, oh, okay, ask questions about it. And I think we need more of that. And it's, yes, it takes a lot to do an art show, but it's, let's say, because I've done that in the past, where we'll have a shoot and they say, okay, to just have a party with the art on the wall. So we've done that. But I think that's what we need more, just for us to showcase our work to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be tough.
Yeah, it is tough. But I mean, when I try to think of ways, like you have cost-effective ways that you can make it happen. Mm-hmm. Let's say, I mean, here we can say on Friday night, let's say you have like because I've had the idea, let's say you say 10 people come here, and then you bring whatever you want. And then we invite a lot of people, and if people are just here, right? Like everybody brings their own things. You don't really have to spend money to make it happen, but it's somebody's apartment.
Yeah.
But imagine if we actually did that a lot. It would be a lot of sharing of ideas, because you can tell me something that you don't think that's really important, but I actually register it and I use it a lot. It's like, but it's from simple conversations.
Right.
Right. And I said to myself a lot that I don't want to wait for the perfect thing to happen for me to make things happen. It's how do I use the little resources that I have to include a lot of people in what I do and appreciate what others are doing. I guess I'm saying this because that's number one. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I want to do this. Just to include everybody in whatever everybody's doing.
Yeah.
Because people who can actually make it happen, it's not enough, right? So I'm also doing this in order to be part of the groups that are actually doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
You need more of those people, more of those spaces, and like ultimately doing it more frequently.
Yeah. Because it's crazy how you can help someone with what they're doing creatively, and you tell them, okay, because I've seen how it helped me and other people because I was at an open mic the other day, and it was a lot of artists we were just talking. And then I remember the one thing that we kept saying is like, please do this again, because it felt like we were all in the therapy circle just talking about creative things.
Wow.
And then I told her, I said, yeah, I think you have a responsibility to keep this going.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, she put a bunch of chairs in her backyard. And then we were all talking, but we had a time to leave, but nobody wanted to leave. Nobody wanted to leave because we felt like on a Sunday afternoon, this is what we're doing, just talking to each other. Mm-hmm. So more of that, I think, yeah.
More deeper connections with people, and just trying to propel everyone else's journey collectively. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to mention that, we are sitting in your apartment, mm-hmm. and you have a lot of your photography on the walls. And so pivoting over a little bit, tell us about the last time that you felt like genuinely proud of yourself, like you got the moment to acknowledge like, yo, I did this and I'm proud.
So usually that's something that I don't do. I do not do that. It doesn't, and I've gotten a lot of feedback for that, because I don't, like, let's say if something's happening, I do get excited about things, but I don't really show it. And I don't actually express it. But I do feel proud when, let's say, if there's a shoot that I wasn't expecting nothing from, and then I can look at the photos and say, wow, this is what we actually did. Or thinking that a shoot goes really well, and then the next one I do tops the other one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's because it happens a lot. But there's a lot of photos that actually keep really close to my heart. Like the one there's the photo with the two hands. That one is my favorite photo, and I think that was 2 years ago, and I've shot a lot of things since. Mm-hmm. But it's that photo that I think that's the first photo that I can say that I'm truly proud of. Whenever there's a show and somebody tells me which photos you want to submit, I always put that one first, even if I know that they wouldn't I'm not going to sell it, but I keep it in the shows anyway. But it happens all the time when I experiment and I find out that's something that I like. For example, one of the last things I did was I sprayed coffee on some of the photos, and then it came out well, and I was like, oh wow, this is good, and I'm proud of it. They're actually on the wall behind you. But it does happen a lot, but it's mostly from photo shoot themselves, but not necessarily with the other things that I am proud. But I have to say that to myself. Outside of the photo shoot themselves, whatever else is happening from photography, I have to tell myself this is like what happened and I'm proud of it.
As we kind of begin like the conclusion and we start to wind down, this is another question that is really dear to me because, again, it's We Are Human is a time capsule project as well. Something that you can look back on years from now. So with that being said, what words or message do you have for your future self in this moment?
Keep doing what I'm doing, because keep being present, keep doing what I'm doing, because if I continue, then I do more shoots, I experiment more, I meet more people, I get into a lot more things, random things.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep going and keep it. There's like this thing that we learn in business school, like keep it simple. So I would say that. Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Keep it simple. I love it.
Yeah, keep it simple. Yeah.
Cool. All right. In one word only, what does New York City mean to you?
Damn, the first word that popped into my head was love.
Love?
Yeah. Yeah, love. Yeah, it's love. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I love that answer.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be damn when you responded.
No. Nah, love is the first word that came up. Yeah.
How does it feel to share your art with New York City, and more specifically at the upcoming event by Project Field, September 21st?
Usually it's mostly whatever I create, it's on my phone, on my computer, so I'm the person who experiences it the most. And for what the project is I'm going to be part of next week, from what it is about community, then I feel good about sharing what I've created with everybody else. But the most important thing is I am glad that it can be a support to the message that the project wants to put out there. So because it's a very important thing to talk about community and how we can come together to, like be together, talk to each other, share ideas, talk about issues, like whatever it is. And I'm very glad that the artwork can be supportive of that. I'm glad to be part of it. I remember I got the email. I was very excited because they're all sitting on my phone, they're sitting on the wall at the apartment. If they can be somewhere else, then I'm all for it. Yeah, and I'm excited to be part of that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We're excited too.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so, to be part of it.
And thank you for your time and for hosting us in your lovely apartment too.
Anytime.